There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another live stream on my Bow Wow Bill YouTube page, Facebook, or my Bow Wow Bill YouTube channel, Facebook page, and streaming live on X as well. I'm here with my good friend Kelly. And really quick, if you guys enjoy what I do here, please consider supporting me on Patreon. All my Patreon supporters, thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm posting a lot more content there. I'm posting the training steps that I'm doing with my service dog right now. I'll be uploading a video here later today. Cinnamon is doing awesome. She's still with me for a couple months, and I'm going to be documenting her progress on the Patreon page. And a real quick shout out. I was talking to Kelly about this. Dr. Ravi Iyer at activepower.com. I'll put a link in the comments down below. This is Atlas. This is an additive that you add to your dog's food. Here, let's see. The light is kind of reflecting on it there. But Atlas is awesome. He also has, do you know the, oh, look at my tattoos too. So do you know what is that, like tiger balm that you put on your joints?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he has this rub for humans, Ayurvedic. It's all Ayurvedic medicine, but he also has that for a dog too. So this is a little applicator that goes down into the little joints of the dog. And what I found is that they don't really lick it. It's something. I mean, it's pretty strong. I mean, you can smell. It smells like Bengay or that tiger balm. And then they also have this Zeus, and this is almost the same, I think, for the dogs that is for people.
Okay.
And Dawn takes this stuff. My wife takes this stuff, and it literally has. She told me that she doesn't take a lot of her prescriptions because this helps her so much with her joints, and it's got like just green lip mussel powder. So if you're allergic to shellfish, you can't take this stuff. Sea cucumber. I can't even see right here. It's got creatine in it. Maybe that's it too. Like lots of great stuff, you guys. So Zeus, Atlas, all this stuff. Ayu Rub, highly recommended. I'm not getting paid to sponsor, or I'm not sponsored by this stuff. It's just stuff that I'm very passionate about. A wonderful product. And I want to thank Dr. Ravi Iyer for inventing it. And I'll put a comment or a link to his website in the comments down below. And with that out of the way, Kelly, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. I'm going to share this. And do you want to give an introduction while I share this? And I'll tag you when I share it so you can share it as well. And if you're watching, go ahead and hit that share button also.
I'm Kelly Engel. I'm in Santa Fe, New Mexico, formerly of Bozeman, Montana. And I took a couple years off business, and I just opened a new business here about 2 months ago. And this is Moccasin, and her sister is Bill's dog, Pecan. So we brought them so they could say hi to each other.
Yeah, let me get it. Hold on one second. As soon as I'm done, I'll grab her. I don't know where she freaking ran off to. All right, so here, let me see. Pecan, where you at? Come here. There she is. Come here, Pecan. No, she doesn't want it. Here's. She's like, dude, how dare you?
Get over her face.
Hi. Hi.
Look at your sister.
Look at you. Say hi to your sister. That's your sister.
I know.
That's your. Look over here.
Look. Look. They're very unimpressed.
Yeah, there. Look at the screen, Pecan.
Look.
Say hi. They're both like, dude.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Oh
Yeah. Let me put Pecan down here. She gets the seat of power. Yaya's not happy about that. Yaya's my little cattle dog. And for those of you that might not know, Kelly is Kelly's my god dog, or my mom, the god mom for my dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So anytime I leave the country, go on a big trip, I call her up. I'm like, dude, in case the plane goes down or I die or what, Dawn and I die, She inherits my dogs. So how many dogs do you have now?
I think, it's funny. I think I have 18.
Holy shit, dude. So you'll have 25 if I
That's
die.
funny. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, but they'd mingle right in with your
They
pack.
blend
You'd have
right in. Yeah.
and excuse me. And I share it, or you can share it now. So I tagged you.
Oh, okay. Let me jump
So
on my,
check
it's
your
on my
phone.
Facebook or.
Yeah, it's on Facebook. So I caught you guys so happy. Oh, Angelina, what's up? I got to do a live stream with you guys, with
Oh,
you too.
Angelina. Yay. Hi.
Yeah, I want to find out how the trip
Excited.
to Caesars and all that stuff. So shout out to you, Angelina. Welcome. And share this as well if you don't mind.
So I can see you, Bill, on Bow Wow Bill is live, but I don't know how to share it to, like, I'm not tech savvy. What am I doing?
So click on that where Bow Wow Bill is live, and then
hit
down
share
below.
my page.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Love you too. Angelina says love you. If you
Oh.
guys have any comments or anything, put them in the comments. Any questions, and I'll get to them. So we'll answer questions or address any comments during our conversation. And then let me also put a link to my Patreon, and then also to Active Power. I'll show Active Power too.
Okay.
Those sister dogs are adorable. Yes, they are. Is that your sister?
Yeah. Hi, Sissy. Oh, that's sweet that she was able to get on.
Yep, here we are. Sister dogs are adorable. Welcome, Jamie. Nice to meet you. And Kelly's the issue why I have so many damn dogs. It's your fault, Kelly.
The micro wolf revolution.
Yes, the micro wolf revolution. Kelly came to my property when Nelson Hodges was here, and I've done some live streams with Nelson. And actually, one of my live streams with Nelson's is the most popular one, and that makes me so happy.
I know,
because he's somebody that you guys, if you don't know Nelson, you gotta meet him. He's one of the best. And you came with
well, so I don't know if you remember this, but I looked up how many dogs I could bring, and it just said one dog.
Yeah.
I think I brought 8.
Yeah.
And then I handed them out to everybody to handle, but I have my little mini healers there.
I remember, and I just remember being smitten.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh my gosh,
that was with Wayne that first time.
Yeah, Wayne passed away.
Yeah.
And what a great guy, man. I don't really know the details, but I know that he went quick, and I know that he was in good shape. And
yeah,
what a heartbreaking story, man. And we're reaching that age, right? Like, I'm almost 50 years old, and it's a hard pill to swallow, but that's the nature of life, right?
It is.
It's fleeting. And so something that we can't get back is our time. So we got a lot more people joining us on YouTube, which is awesome. Welcome, Joey. I've done a live stream with Joey as well. I know he had cancer.
Yeah,
he had cancer. I just don't know the details of it. And he's an incredible man. Absolutely. So God bless Wayne, and he's fondly remembered by so many in the dog community. And I was honored that he came to my house, and I got to hang with him, work some dogs with him, and he brought poodles.
Oh, that's right. He brought those poodles. That was such a fun workshop.
Yeah. And I'm going to be doing some more workshops here, man. I might even have you come up if you're down, Kelly.
When I get a dog sitter, I'll let you know. I have a whole farm now. I have like horses and cats, and so
maybe we can start on that. Like a lot of dog trainers, we get into the business, and I was speaking to one, and he's like, yeah, I want 4 more
dogs.
And so, yeah, he was, and I was talking about, because I'm never, ever going to have this many dogs again. And let's talk about the responsibilities and the commitment that it takes to own multiple dogs.
So I feel like it's a blessing and a curse. My advice to new trainers or to young trainers is to get a pack of dogs. Do you remember the Malcolm Gladwell rule of 10,000 hours to mastery?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say they've debunked that, but there's more to it than 10,000 hours. But the quickest way to get 10,000 hours is to put yourself with a pack of dogs in your home. Just go pull out. And it's not just like 5 golden retrievers. Like you need, that's what I joke about. I'm like, you need a wire-haired dog. You need a Chihuahua. You need a northern breed, like a Husky. It's, put a bunch of weird stuff in your house and live like that 24/7, even if it's just dogs that you're fostering or that you're going to rehome once you get it figured out. But that's kind of how I got here. And it's, I've always had, I think the least I've had since I was 18 is maybe 4 or 5. So, and when I was in Montana, I think I had up to 23 at some point. At one point, Bill, I had 3 Malinois, a Drahthaar, a Cane Corso, and a standard poodle amongst my other dogs. Like it was the weirdest. And then my parrot that just lived loose with them, my umbrella cockatoo.
Anyway. And so you learn, what do you learn? You learn temperaments, you learn social structures, you learn hierarchy. I have a dog. I posted up a video, and I guess this video went viral, of this dog yard. And this dog goes, and these dogs are acting out. And Joey had 26
I'm like,
shepherds. Yep. And then one dog comes in and just kind of puts a stop to everything, right? And it doesn't have to be the biggest, baddest dog. And so what are some things that you learn by having not just multiple dogs, but multiple breeds of dogs?
Everything I've learned is more subtle, and I've never had that happen with, there's a blackbird, like, go away. I've never had that happen. So everything for me is more like anecdotal science. For example, I've tried as an experiment multiple times to get female, like I've had a female Patterdale Terrier. Love this dog, loved her. But I was concerned that she would become dog aggressive when she hit sexual maturity towards my other females. But I wanted to experiment because she was game bred. She was a hog dog from Oklahoma as a puppy. She came out of hog dogs. Super high gamey little dog. But sure enough, at 1.5 years, she did against Willow, my healer, and tried to kill her a couple of times. And then I just chose to rehome her. But so for me, it's genetics. And to see how genetics, I mean, we can go in and play with all of raise them the right way, do all the right things. And ultimately genetics are going to take over. And so, my most recent one was the Alibi that I have, which was the one that kind of was the biggest risk I've taken, because he's, huge and he's very powerful, and he's, could be very dangerous. So, but I learned all kinds of things like chocolate dogs. They're extra. These chocolate colored dogs, I have never had one that's not extra. Just extra emotive, extra everything.
That's all my skipper keys are chocolate skipper keys too.
Yeah. So my favorite dogs are chocolate, but I, look at like chocolate labs. We've talked about this before, I think, when I was on here, because I had that same observation 8 or 9 years ago, but it's definitely solidified.
Yeah. People don't take and appreciate the role of genetics, especially don't worry about
this
it.
Bird is like right there.
A sick moccasin after.
I'm like seizuring the bird away. I'm like, shh.
Nice. Matt's here too. Matt, what's up, buddy?
Oh, hey, Matt.
So genetics, like I've been doing a lot of service dog work, and that's kind of like, I like it. I really enjoy it. And people don't realize, they call me all the time. Well, first off, they don't realize the cost. Like this is an investment. This is a lot of training, a lot of time that I take to away from my pack to one-on-one focus on this one dog. And the genetics are mandatory. And just because the dog has good genetics, I get people calling me all the time with rescues that want to turn them into a service dog. And about 95% of them, I'm like, nope, dude, they're not going to make the cut. Right. Because they just don't have the genetic backbone to be stable in all different situations that these service dogs are going to be experiencing. And then we have to take, even though the genetics are there, we have to take into account sexual maturity, just like you said. And then there's also social maturity too that happens, right? About a year and a half or 2 years old, then the dog starts to get socially mature, and we'll see things that pop up that maybe we haven't seen. And I have a younger dog now, and I think she's doing great. I'll post up a video, and I'm like I said, I'm tracking her progress and documenting it on my Patreon page. But just because she's doing so well now, because she's so young, and I think she'll be fine, there's still that aspect in the future of this social maturity that comes up that could, cause the dog to be a little bit more defiant, cause the dog to, I don't know, just assert themselves a little bit different if you have a pack of dogs. There's a lot to consider when working with these dogs, but genetics, what the dog was bred for, is truth, and we can't make a dog something they're not. We can only curate what is possible, or what is present in that dog at that time.
Yeah, so that's one of the, I saw Angelina wrote, "We are scientists," which is true. So that's one of the things with, I've brought a lot of dogs into my home that I wouldn't otherwise have not got my hands on because I'm so curious about the genetics. And then, like, I'll give you an example here. This sounds really funny, but I have a bunch of Chihuahuas that I've been getting. I've gotten a few out of the El Paso shelter, and I have one right now out of Albuquerque. And I joke that these Chihuahuas are game bred because they're so insane. Like I back here to a 20,000 acre section of public land. So I take all 18 dogs off leash a couple times a day. And these Chihuahuas are savages. They are, on the ball, hanging off my leg. I even have one that's feral, and they all have I think a lot of them have a hint of healer in them because we've DNA'd them. Like right now I've got a female, she's healer, pit, and Chihuahua, and she's unhinged. And I call her the toxic dog because if I take her out with everybody, it ruins the group because everyone turns toxic with her, and it's just total chaos out there and screaming. And, but these Chihuahuas are just not like anything, and they're coming off the street, they're just tough. But, so yeah, the genetics, I really underestimated genetics most of my life until I started building the dog pack out and getting my hands on so many different breeds of dogs and seeing how the genetics are coming to fruition with sexual maturity and in subtle ways. So
yeah, and it's it's true in humans, it's true in every species, right? And speaking of science, so when we look at the scientific method, here, let me put this up, and exactly that's what we are, right? We are scientists, and when we look at the scientific method, it involves, first off, one thing that dog trainers don't do is this very first step, right? And this is a first, we have the observation, the question, and then we have the hypothesis, and then this is where we start observing even more. Like the observation is present even more in the experiment, and then we analyze what we've observed, and then we come to a conclusion, right? So that's the scientific step.
Yes.
But this is a one thing, and especially with new dog trainers, and this is what I think you're talking about getting an eclectic knowledge base through different breeds, and not just staying with golden retrievers, or it's important to see and to watch the interaction and how different dogs, like I'll turn on a vacuum, 3 of my dogs will go after it. and then yeah, you better freaking believe it, dude. Like after it, like I want to kill this thing. I don't care how much I've been corrected for it. Every time this vacuum comes on, it's a trigger to kill. And it's like I'm losing my mind, and I don't see anything but this. And just to, when you observe that which is, that is truth, right? And people ask, how do you define truth? It's that which has undergone or is ongoing, the instance of having occurred. It's pretty simple. And we look at the truth. We look at, and we have to observe. And I think that a lot of dog trainers don't take the time and just to watch dogs, man.
Yeah, and the other part of it too is that, as you know, just look at our industry where we have this huge spectrum of, approach to how we're going to train. Whatever your perception is, that's what's the only like when you look at the scientific method, the person that's the observer is, with dogs, you're putting your perception on what you're observing. It's hard. I mean, obviously we wish we could, just make it flat out science, but I might see something that feels a certain way and someone else looks at it and they go, no, it feels that way.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where it's tricky. You want to get into the conversation about science-based dog training. Like I went through the AceFab or whatever, their website I think they have 17 or 22 studies posted on there to support their training methods that they want to align with. And a lot of those, at least back when I had checked, because what you can do, if anyone cares, I'm sure you already know this or do this, but you can run all your studies through your advanced version of ChatGPT 4.0.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just a more efficient way to go through. So I'll look through all the studies and then I'll try to figure out who funded the study. And, so I've been doing that. That's one of my little side things I'm into right now. But so many of our studies in dog science are owner reported. And my friend Julie Hart has done a lot more research on this than me and has a lot more knowledge to talk about it fluently. But the people that dive in with Zach George and get in these conversations, you know what I'm going with this, but on the science side of things. What are you reading right now? I can see your eyes. What are you doing? What are you following?
Grisha, Stewart, and Ace, and all these. I'm just trying to find those. That's funny that you know that I'm reading.
I know what you're doing.
Yeah, you totally do, dude. I can't fool Kelly. But go ahead, because Zach George, the scientific based training, and how dare you? This is proven by science, right? Shaming others because this is what the literature says.
So I know we spend so much time fighting him and fighting that, not fighting, but just trying to have our side, another side seen. But in my opinion, I don't think the perception's ever going to change, whether you're on this perception of it or that perception. It just is. So, but the science isn't supporting anything because the science is wonky. It's not, in my opinion, it's not real science. So,
well, there's a lot who go there, right? And people are looking for these systems of dog training that make it easier for them because they run a business. They have a multitude of dogs and people that they need to make money and to have results. But there's also like a political correctness, if I would, to this, right? And a lot of this stuff it's almost like it's flushed through the HR department of a Fortune 500 company, right? It's like this has to be replicated by different people. It has to be sanitized for the general public, so it doesn't reflect poorly on our business model or our brand. There's a competitive aspect of philosophies. And that's human nature, in my opinion, right? There's so many different aspects of whether it's race, whether it's height. There's so many things that we find offensive as individual human beings, and I'm talking about in the optics of, like, if I were on the outside of the human race looking in. And looking at the overall human species, I'm like, oh, interesting. They're fighting because they're different colors. They're fighting because they come from different lands. They're fighting because they have a sport or a game that they play in the other team, right? There's so many different aspects of this that people get so passionate about. And I think that this is just one of those things. Like we find it in every industry, not just dog training.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
To jump topics real quick, I have a question for you.
Okay.
Back to genetics for a second. What are you doing these days for puppy socializing?
I'd let them be puppies, man. I don't, when I get a puppy, I don't really focus on too much training. I focus on like potty and working through the dogs, but I want them around other puppies too. I do some adult stuff with the dogs, but I want them interacting and goofing off with other puppies that basically 5 months or younger, and be able to explore in that environment. What do you do, and why do you ask?
Well, so just this past week, myself and Julie Hart were, hosting this feral dog retreat, and we'll talk about that. I'd like to talk about that in a minute, but I was talking about Ian Dunbar, and do you remember? And I haven't checked on him for a while, but it was an old school approach he had to raising puppies, and I think it was like, have your puppy meet 100 people before 16 weeks old. Do you remember this? It was a
Yeah.
protocol that he really pushed, and I feel like maybe it's like 10 years ago. And I think about that now. I hadn't thought about it forever. We were talking about it, and I was like, man, I would never like that. I could see how it was well-intentioned back then, but I would never do that now. I know back then that I was doing that. I was pushing to take my puppy everywhere and meet as many people as possible and meet as many dogs. And I was thinking about back, 20 years ago, my dogs were a lot more reactive when I was using those protocols. And now the 18 dogs I have, I don't think I have a single reactive dog, but I don't
do that either.
And I don't even take mine when they're puppies. I might throw them in the car and drag them around with my chores, but I don't think anything of it. I don't go in anywhere and think about how I want them to greet somebody or not greet somebody. I just go. I don't think about it at all.
Totally. Me too.
Yeah.
And in fact, I think that brings on a whole subset of problems of distrust.
Yeah.
Right. And not only that, but it also gives the dog a false sense of uncertainty, but also entitlement too, of like, it's
I
cool.
Gotta go meet this dog or leave you, or
Yeah, absolutely. And I want that dog to know that they're my dog. They need to listen to me. They pay attention to me above anything else in their environment. Right. And so, and I remember, let me see if I can find and pinpoint this this incident that I had where I actually will take my dogs out to busy areas, but I don't. Here, I found it. Let me see if I can expand this one. Share this tab instead. So let me show. This is one of the time lapse videos that I've done and posted, and I do a better explanation of what I'm doing on my Patreon page and kind of go through this. But let me zoom in here. I wonder if I can. Yeah, I can. Okay. So if you watch, I'm doing this. Now see the guy back here. Can you see my cursor?
Yeah. Yeah.
So watch this guy. He comes up to my dog.
Okay.
And I'm looking at and he's just like, oh, hi, and like clapping and like, oh my goodness. And I'm just looking at the dude like, what are you doing? But I also am thankful because this is a training gift in a way.
Yeah.
To show the dog that even though this person is trying to interact, right, then and let me see if I can pause it really quick. So he's like doing all this, hi, like he's going, hi puppy, and she's looking at him, and I'm like, I'm not talking to the dude, and he's just like staring at her, right? But I'm actually using this as like, okay, cool, like you're not gonna pet my dog, dude, and you're not gonna meet my dog.
Yeah.
And I think that he was expecting me to. And then he goes walking off. I think he was expecting me to like, oh yeah, say hi to him, right? And the other thing too is like, I don't know how this person is going to interact with my dog. I don't know if this person is going to be a little bit too much loom over them. Like I just don't do it. I don't know people, and people are fucking weird, dude. Like there's some people out there, especially with dogs, and especially in the dog world, that are batshit, dude. Like we used to have a batshit BSC scale that we would call it, as a batshit crazy scale.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and especially with my colleagues, I would text them and be like, "Dude, I just got this call from this lady who's BSC 10." And like I'd call John Sparks and some
Oh, yeah.
colleagues of mine around here, and just let them know,
Warn
hey,
'em.
look,
Mhm.
just to warn them and just be like, look, man, this. And so it's that's the beauty of life too. And just like we're talking about the different dogs and different genetics, so guess what? People have different genetics. Some are awesome, some are not so awesome, some are
Yeah.
straight up, you know and I don't allow that interaction. The other thing that I don't do that people might be surprised about is I'm not treating this dog. Like, I don't give him treats.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the other thing that I found, because I want a stable dog. I want a dog that listens to me regardless. And people ask me, how many treats have you given Cinnamon? Do you know how many I've given her this whole time that she's been with me?
How many? 0?
And people are appalled by it. They're like, what? They're like, and I'm like, but I feed her. Obviously, but I have certain times that she eats. And when
Mhm.
she eats, I utilize that feeding time to put her in her crate, to let her know, hey, look, this is your time, eat up. And I find that and there's certain times that absolutely I will treat a dog. If I want a dog that's more flashy, that's more explosive, that has that gasoline and that pushes and like pulls, and I want that, then I'll throw a treat and have them pull to it. I'll click them out and have them fly back to me. Like, there's certain aspects of operant conditioning that absolutely I will do in certain situations. But because she's going to be a service dog that's going to access so many different public areas, I don't want her picking up food off the ground that people might drop in a restaurant, or sniffing the ground and nibbling crumbs or anything like that. I don't want her to think that this is an opportunity for her to get
So,
treat.
if she is a service dog, is she gonna be picking anything up for the owner?
She's not going to do the task of retrieving, but she's doing what's called deep pressure therapy. So it's like a weighted blanket, so to speak. So
Okay.
that we have some panic disorders, and so she's going to go up on. I've taught her, like, and it's hard for me to mimic, but whenever I start, I'll mimic breathing, and distress breathing, and different, like, stomping of the feet a little bit, or things that once I get to the owner's house, I'll be able to tailor it to that specific person. But that's where it becomes an art, because indication for the dog is going to be rewarding for the dog as well, because we're going to be touching and holding the dog. And so what I have to teach first and foremost is to counter condition this command.
Hmm.
And so if that dog tries to alert me of a panic attack by getting on me, and I'm not having a panic attack, but the dog just wants to be rewarded, I have to show the dog off and let the dog know that there is a definite line between when I am having a panic attack versus when I don't need this. And but then there's also the obedient disobedience, that if the dog is insistent, if I tell the dog off and the dog keeps on being insistent, and then all of a sudden I feel a wave of emotions, I don't want the dog triggering a panic attack, but I do want the dog to be disobedient in case I do have the telltale signs that a panic attack or a seizure or a diabetic episode or something is not in the scope of my perception. But the dog, whether it's through scent,
Mhm.
or whether it's through nuances in my behavior, that the dog is disobedient, and be like, no, dude, I'm insisting that this happens. And so it's definitely an art. Like, this is a hard thing, but I'm ready for it, because it's of the foundation of training that I've had for the last 20 years, of giving this dog a solid foundation, that I can trust this dog to do the work that's needed.
So the reward right now, what exactly is the highest reward you would give the dog?
Attention.
Okay.
And I pay the dog a good girl and love, but even that is nice and subtle, and it's directed attention, and also just like grabbing the vest, grabbing the leash, any of that stuff. The dog is excited, excited in a good way of like, I'm coming to you, or I'm coming with you. We're going on an adventure.
Yeah.
And that's probably the highest of being with me and being with my wife. And I have a shadow student that's the other aspect of this too, is that I want this dog to have multiple handlers so they can help. It helps them generalize the commands that they know. The foundation is true, not just in every environment, but with every handler as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. No praise. And do you want to get here? Let's look at the comments. They're starting to pile up. So let's go here. I used to live to experiment to find out what would happen if XYZ. Yep. And sometimes it's like, oh shit. It's like, sometimes it's like, huh, like that's pretty cool, man. Like that, I never, like, dude, I have an Akita Husky here. Okay. It's killed a ton of bunnies. It's killed cat, like almost killed a cat, went after some dogs, and I have all these little dogs here. Right. And so I have that Akita out in my dog room with all these dogs flying in and out, but no interaction for a while. And then one day I'm like, all right, dude, I'm watching your ass. And I brought him into the pack. And then he was so cool, man. Like, he's like, and he, I think dogs know dogs. Dogs know dogs. Dogs know cats. And even if they're itty bitty and running around, and at first when I introduced him, brought him where actually he could put teeth on another dog in a situation where the dogs are scrambling around, and I have him on a leash. And then I drop the leash, but I also have it kind of at an even lower energy level for the dogs. I'm not letting them fly around. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, all right, fuck it. You guys do what you're going to do. And I'm watching him, and he's super cool. So now he's pack. And so now he goes, and every time that I'm with the little dogs, he's coming out with me every time, like, and he appreciates it, but I had to be certain. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So you trust him right now with your dogs unattended?
Yes.
Like if you're not there?
Yep. Yes, I do. And that's one thing that Dawn was saying, was like, don't ever leave me with this dog with all the other dogs. But now I think she's okay. I don't know if she's on this, but let me know, honey, if you're okay with it. But I just picked him up, and with my little service dog in the back, and I went and picked him up, and they're all cuddled in the back seat, like sleeping together. And I'm showing her. She's like, dude, that's so sweet. And I'm like, he is absolutely packed now. I trust this dog. The only time I wouldn't trust him is like when I barely, like, if it's just, I don't know. I mean, if the excitement becomes too overwhelming, I don't know if he would redirect, but I'm about 98% right now. Yeah. And I think I might always stay at that 98%. I don't think that 2%, I think that 2% or 5% or whatever is always going to be present, just because you can't fool yourself of something never happening.
Yeah. Because I've been handling aggressive dogs for a long time, I just tend to bring him and put him in the pack immediately. Usually with not all the dogs though. It's like, I'll test him out with Harlan, my little healer. And if I need to put a muzzle on him, I will, but I feel like I have enough control. I have enough control over my test dog, Harlan, to keep himself safe, that I can keep the situation safe. But I like to see it right away. Like day one, like within an hour, I have him in with my dogs.
Okay.
We did one with this feral dogs. The feral dogs, we had one that was presenting a little bit conflicted, and we put her in, and it was nice. She was actually quite nice. She was just scared. And then by the end of the retreat, she was playing with everybody. But
yeah, and that's the majority, is uncertainty, is scared, but once you can see the sigh of the relief, and you can see the aha moments and the different things that the dogs do, and that comes from this observation that I'm talking about, is like, look, observe so many dogs that you realize that these dogs are
Hi,
are going to be
Nelson.
cool.
Yeah.
Oh, Nelson. Yeah, I just shouted you out, Nelson. So Nelson's here. And I put up a link to his website, you guys, right up here. I also put up a link to, you guys check out.
Yeah.
Canine Human. What is it? Human. I always get it mixed, but whatever.
Canine Human Relationship Institute.
Yeah. Thank you,
There you go,
Kelly.
Nelson. I'm on it.
Don't judge me, Nelson. And then I put up a link to what was it? It is the Malcolm Gladwell book about the 10,000 hours outliers.
Wow.
Yep. So there's a link to that. I put up a link to activepower.com, which is here. Let me do this really quick. Activepower.com. This is where we get the this supplements. You guys can see all my tattoos when you don't see all of them because I'm covered in tattoos. People might not realize that I'm covered in tattoos, but Atlas is for the dogs. And yeah, let me show this is the website for Active Power. They have dogs, humans, and horses, Kelly.
Oh, yay.
So horse products. Oh, I guess that's not coming. Pegasus is coming soon, so that's not out yet. But yeah, the great stuff, you guys. And it's an additive that you put on, and we've seen dogs that are elderly, and they also have these little weighted bands that you can put on their legs, and you put coins in them. And for dogs that have a different gait or something that's showing up that they need to be rehabbed, they have a little massager for the dogs. They have the full pack, the whole muscle kit. So check it out, you guys. Active Power. It's in the links in the comments. I'm not sponsored or anything, but I love the product. I love Dr. Ravi Iyer, the inventor of the product. And so let me go through these comments too really quick here.
Well, so since Nelson popped up, I'll segue into this. So Nelson, many years ago, started coming out here with Julie, and they were teaching I don't remember when Julie or she initially was. I'm sure he can speak to this, but they were doing the feral dog workshop out here way before I lived out here. And
in New Mexico, for people that don't know.
Yeah, in Las Vegas, New Mexico, because New Mexico, and I would say Arizona and areas of Texas, because of the year-round climate, we're prone to have more feral dogs, and then also just the culture. And so when I moved out here a couple of years ago in 22, I started working, volunteering 3 days a week at a shelter down sort of not too far off the border, but in New Mexico. And about 40% of the dogs coming in the shelter were feral. And it was my first time with exposure to feral dogs. And just because of our resources, we had to euthanize. I mean, the shelter was awesome. They really did give them a couple weeks to come around before they euthanize them, but there was nothing to do with them. And so in my head, at some point, I had this thought that it would be amazing if the trainers, are you good? Oh, thank you.
Here.
Thanks,
What's
Julie.
Up, Julie?
Yeah. So before I even really connected with Julie, in my head, I thought, it would be amazing if these dogs could go to trainers because there's so much to learn from them. They're so different than, a golden retriever. And so I started connecting with Julie, and unbeknownst to me, this was like her baby and Nelson's, this thing that they had been building. And so last year, I don't know, a few months ago, last fall, I just kind of said it out loud. I was like, man, it'd be so great if a bunch of trainers could get involved and we could get these feral dogs out to trainers and then they could go live with them or something. And she just caught on to that and was like, oh, I have an idea. So I'm going to give it all to Julie because she put all this together, but there was the 2-day workshop that she was doing and it still does with Nelson. He's not present at it, but he still does the consulting for it. And that was last week. And so they did that. And then we did an extension of that where 4 of the trainers, Julie got us this beautiful house that we leased right up the road from me so I could come home and check on my dogs and be, fully engaged in it. And so the first 2 days are just the fundamentals of what it is, what is a feral dog? How do you the basics of rehabilitation? And then these 4 trainers came and it was kind of kind of like a reality show where you put 4 trainers and 4 feral dogs into this beautiful environment. And then, it was just incredible. It was, so many things could have gone wrong. And I haven't done something of that like over multiple days. And Julie she's been involved in that before. So she was on top of everything. And it was just the bond, to see the dogs change from day one of handling to when they went home. Oh my gosh. I mean, and that people, like, we all just built a beautiful relationship with each other. And so it was spectacular. I'm still on a high from it because it ended Saturday. So
I think that is so important to remind people, especially when you've been in this industry for so long. But I tell people there's lots of different ways that we make money, and there's lots of different types of money. And a lot of times we get lost in the fact of like running these businesses and the money that pays our bills, because a lot of people have facilities and have a large overhead, that we forget that there's money that pays our heart.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like this is gold for your heart, man.
Yeah, it was. Like I was telling Julie when we were reflecting about it after, I told her, I said, there was not, I mean, those were like, maybe 12-hour days. I had to come back and forth because I had to deal with my dogs. But yeah, Trisha was there. Hi, Trish.
Hi, Trisha. Hi, Megan, too. Megan says
Megan was there. Yeah, they're popping up. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
And Judith
saw. That's my aunt. Hi, Aunt Judy.
Hi, Aunt Judy.
Yeah, she lives kind of by you. She's in La Conner.
Okay. Hi, Judy.
But what I was going to say about it was, so, I mean, these are long days. Like you're just dropping into your bed exhausted at night. We're out hiking in the hot sun all day. I mean, it is like, there was not, honestly, Bill, like I came into this with a major flu. I was super sick for 2 days. I almost went to the hospital, but then I got it together and I came in so from Tuesday to Saturday, it was 100%. There was not one moment where I was not so happy, so present. I didn't have one other thought. I didn't check my phone. I did nothing. Like I was so, it was just, that's the only way I can describe it. Like, and so what you're saying about it being like money for your heart, it was just, I don't know. I was so engaged with it. Yeah, such a special experience.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, and the fact that things can go wrong.
Yeah.
Right. That's, I mean, things can always go wrong, man. And that's the beauty of this, and this is why we need a collective knowledge base as dog trainers and work and view and observe many different scenarios, because it's not necessarily what we can create. It's what happens when shit goes wrong. And that's one of the most important things that I bring to my clients is like, look, shit's going to go wrong. It's like there's no if about this. Like you especially with my service dogs, like you're going to encounter people like that dude that walked right up to me. You're going to encounter chaos and order. That's the natural rhythm of our universe. And what do we do when things go wrong? How do we handle this? That's what I want to instill is like, look, things are going to go wrong. I don't want you to be afraid of that. I want you to be excited for that, because this is your opportunity to really speak to the dog, to bond with the dog in a totally different way, because we're now putting ourselves and this animal in a uncertain environment. And at the end, the certainty that remains is a relationship that you have, or the relationship that you've built. Mm-hmm. And the relationships with other dogs, and the experience that you have witnessed, and not only that, but now you have gone someplace with a dog and come back to your home or whatever, when you travel with your dog. I think that is something that is very powerful in the relationship building aspect of what we do. And we can't forget that. We forget that with systems. We forget that with cookie cutter blanket strategies that you do this with every dog. What are you looking at?
because I'm listening to you, but the comments are coming up on the side, and I'm
Okay.
trying to make sure.
Yeah, let's get to the comments. And by the way, I've just reached out to Julie while we're talking. I'm messaging her, and we're going to do a live stream
Good.
with Julie Hart, with just her. She doesn't want to barge in on yours, but and I want to do one with her. And not only that, but I'm also going to be doing one with the team, with Nelson and his team, coming up here probably in July or August. I'll announce the days. And it's real. There's nothing can be else. Nothing can be else. What, Nelson? But no,
there can be nothing else.
There can be nothing. Oh, dude, that's me, dude. People might not know this. I'm dyslexic too. Just so you guys know.
I was just changing the tone of how it sounded because I get to see where you're getting stuck.
Yeah, there can be nothing else. Thank you, Kelly.
You're welcome.
I'm dyslexic, and what did I? Do you want to hear my joke? My doctor described, my doctor diagnosed me with dyslexia and AHDD.
Oh, yeah.
Never mind. That's my joke.
That's a good joke.
Thank you, Kelly.
I'll indulge you.
You like your overhead? Oh, there we go.
They're over there having a conversation.
I know. Kelly was built for this. This is her true passion. No question about it. Yeah, absolutely. And dude, speaking of overhead, do you remember, like, Kelly and I had dinner when you were up here?
I remember this dinner.
Yeah. And thank you, because I changed my trajectory, because this is what I was going to do. I was going to take some money.
I remember that.
Yeah. And you were honest with me. And what did you tell me? Do you remember?
No. I mean, I remember the conversation, but I'm trying to remember exactly the point that you're trying to.
You just warned me about overhead, and how, how, like, because you had Know Thy Dog in Montana, and I think you just sold it, or you were.
I hadn't sold it yet, but I'll tell you, because I was talking about this weekend, and this is probably what I told you. That was the most stressful experience of my life, to have that much responsibility overhead. Because when COVID hit, I had 2 locations. So I had a training facility, and then I had the boarding and daycare facility, and I think 15 full-time employees, and running about 130 dogs through a day between the 2 places. And my well-being, my mental health was so destroyed. And when I sold that business, I sold it in October of 21. It took me 3 years. I sold it so I could retire for 5 years. So I'm still in that quote retirement, but it took me 3 years of PTSD, and to just completely, I mean, I was so disinterested in all of it. It came back slowly, but I mean, immediately it was bad. And so I committed myself this round when I opened the business here. I opened it under my name. It's my name, kellyengel.com. And I'm not like, I focused. So you know how you're doing a service dog training right now? I made a decision. I was like, what do I want to spend my days doing every day? And yeah, here's my my website. And what I want to do every day is I want to take dogs that have gotten out of balance or out of harmony with nature, and I want to take them out into nature and be with them out there with a pack of dogs and to go explore. And I want to do that every day. And then I obviously do all the, whatever the level of training is they need to coexist peacefully in their home, or to make safe choices. But that's nice. You're scrolling to there.
I love you, Kelly. Yeah, and Kelly's my friend, man. This is she's my. You guys might not know this. I announced it earlier, but she is my dog's godmom. So this is Godmom Kelly. Like, if
she's like, who else will take 7 more dogs without blinking an eye? It'd be me.
And you're just like, yeah, totally. What do you got?
Yeah.
Oh, you met Oprah, huh?
Yeah, I was on Oprah for my Katrina work with dogs.
Okay.
Yeah, and then did a couple of movies.
Yeah, I've done some films with my dogs as well. So you guys, I want you to pay attention to this, because I think that we lose ourselves in the business of this, and there is a business of it. But like I was saying earlier, there is a part of this that we are living our passion. Yeah. And this is something that we feel intuitively that pulls us to work with dogs. And you just like you had the the PTSD, like listen to that. Like this is something that can actually be detrimental to the passion and to who you are as an individual when you lose yourself in the business, and you will lose yourself in the business. And so it's important to not just work in the business, but to work on the business and to realize the why, the power of why do you do this, and to become clear, because the burnout rate is huge and understandably so, but it's also, you have a gift, and I believe God has given me the gift of being able to understand dogs, and we have a gift to share with others. And don't let the world destroy that. Share your gift, but do it in a way that's safe and that will not distort who you are.
Exactly. So I think it takes a really long, well, I mean, these are just lessons you learn. You have to, you can hear people can tell you that, but until you live it and then you decide to change it. But going back to you doing the service dog, one thing is I have tried everything. I have played around with search and rescue. I've done every single, I think the only thing I've never competed in is fly ball. That's it. But I have never, like, I know myself, I've never had an interest in service dog work at all. Like I have zero interest in it. I have zero interest in obedience, like formal obedience. I don't Schutzhund. I've tried all of it. None of it interests me. I come back to the same thing, no matter what. Put a dog in my hand. Let me feel the dog. And then we're going to go out into nature. And that's it. That's all I want to do. And I want to help people, reconnect with nature. I mean, I don't know. I'm going to get a little esoteric here, so I won't, but I just know what I like. So that's it. Like that's what I'm going to do. And so my whole website is, I built it out. I did all my own copy, and built it out basically like, this is who I am. I'm about nature and about being in, I have an office in Santa Fe where I can meet my clients, but all the work I do is out here. Anyway, there's a lot to say about it, and I'm not going to expand on it right now, but yeah, Angelina, I hate obedience too.
I love it. I love obedience, and that's, but I'm not a big bite sport guy. Like, and I am, but I like the tracking aspect of Schutzhund, right? Like I like to watch the dog do. I just don't like the machismo of the culture, I guess.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it. And I've been in it. I've experienced it. And even though I warn people, I know that we all have to walk our own path, and knowledge through experience is true gnosis. And that's the most important way to learn. And I can't do it for you, and I'm not you. And just like we're talking about the scientific method earlier about perceptions, this is my perception of the dog world. And it's important to know, like, there is a subjective and objective. Subjective would be my perception, the subject, and then the object would be the overall environment or the overall truth of what's going on. And there's a word called solipsism. You know that word? Solipsism?
Mm-mm.
Solipsism, it means that you believe that your subjective truth is the overall truth. Solipsism.
So, but isn't that the kind of thinking that your reality, I mean, how can you think outside of that in a sense if it's reality in your own reality? My reality and your reality are different.
Right. So there is a subjective truth to our reality, but there's also the reality. There is our interpretation of it, but there's also the objective truth of reality itself, right? And the way that I would explain this would be like, you and I are having a conversation on this live stream, right? We are objectively talking to a bunch of people, but each one of these people have a pinpoint of perception of this conversation that we're having. But the fact remains that we're still having this conversation. And even you are having a subjective experience from New Mexico. I'm having a subjective experience from Washington. Angelina's like in California, Matt's in Oregon, like all around.
Angelina's in Oregon.
What's that?
Angelina's in Oregon.
Oh, in Oregon. Sorry, my bad, Angelina.
Oh, that's okay, Angelina. Make sure I know where you're at.
Kelly's on it.
You.
Yep. But that's it. It's like we have our subjective or perception, but we also have the objective of looking at I call it 30,000 foot view.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's important to take that 30,000 foot view and realize sometimes that we get caught. Have you ever heard that saying that your view is blocked by the trees when you're in the forest versus taking that 30,000 foot view of looking at the whole forest? Right. And so, and this is the we're talking esoteric and philosophical, attributes, but it's something that is important to know. Like, look, it's some people are truly solipsists, where they believe that kind of the world is like robots. Everybody else is robots. And they're
Nelson said everyone on earth thinks they're right.
Yeah. Well, and sometimes that's a beautiful thing, and sometimes it's not so beautiful. I'm going to go up because I want to get to these comments. They're starting to pile up. Joey says he exposed dogs to everything. I don't socialize. They need to see and hear all different people, but not meet them. Yep. Distance exposure.
I was going to say Angelina said something. Yep. Distance exposure. Yeah.
Like I tell people, you never know if that person wanting to pet your dog just left the vet because their dog passed away from a disease. Totally. Exactly. Let me see. No praise until invited. This way the dog knows when to apply spatial pressure. Yeah, I give a command. Like if I do want somebody to, like is somebody that's going to be in our life, look at that freaking dog. And I do want the dog to say hello, then I will, where's Pecan? Come here. She's freaking zonked out somewhere in here. Pecan, where are you at? I don't know how you can disappear in the room. Did I give them Pecan? Hold on.
You're so good.
Now you're scaring me. Oh, she's right underneath me, dude. She's like looking at me like, dude, what do you want?
They both do the same thing. Look at the
I know.
Yeah.
Say hi to your sister. Say hi to your sister. So, dude, now what the hell was I just talking? Oh, I give them a command. Say hello to our friend. And I guide them, just like Nelson talks about. I put a hand in front of their face and I'll guide them to where I want them to go and say hello to my friend. Right. And so now they know, okay, cool. Like I can kind of be at ease here. And just like she says, when to apply spatial pressure so the dog can go into their space too, or to leave my space, because I do like the obedience. And so I do a heel. And if somebody comes up, just like I was doing with that puppy's in a heel. That's a duration command. You stay right at my side, no matter what distractions are here. And let me see here. Does that make sense? So yeah, I do invite the dog, but I structure it in a way. I don't let everybody meet him, but the people that I do want them to meet, I will let the dog know and give the dog a clear cue to say hello. And sometimes I'll even go break, say hello to our friend. Right. So you are completely present and relevant to the dog. It all goes well. That's right. Dogs can teach us to live in the moment. And that's look at this dog. Look at my
I'm dying right now. She
like I'm standing too. I'm at my standing desk. She's zonking. You a good girl, huh? Yes, you are. Anyway, and I saw they were working with feral dogs forces you to listen to the dogs. Very good, Angelina. We got to do a live stream here soon.
I feel like Angelina and I are kind of living parallel lives. We have our big dog packs and horse and on our farm.
Yeah,
I enjoy chatting with her.
Yeah, she's great. And let me see. This we're talking about. This is where Matt has the overhead. That's where I am right now. Facility is not always the best thing to have for sure.
Matt and I have talked about this for like 10 years. We keep discussing the overhead and facility.
Yeah, I'm glad I listened to you because I was about ready to pull the trigger and either build a facility on my place or Well, no, I think that's what you, if anything, that's what you were saying. And I did. I mean,
Your
I
barn's
yeah, it's
nice.
fine. Like this is all I need, only feral Kelly.
So at the retreat for the last few days, I told them, I said, there's two versions of me. I'm either totally feral and I look feral. I said, or I'm fancy and I'm in the city. There's nothing in between. So I kind of got nicknamed Feral Kelly. Plus I don't have any food at my house and I'm kind of living wild out here. So.
Well, and that's what my wife's like, dude, you have a feral wife. And I'm just like, I freaking did, man. Like she's always out wildcrafting and doing stuff. And,
yeah, she does.
But they're the best, man. Good show, YouTube. Jamie's going back to work.
Bye, sissy.
Bye, sissy. I hate obedience too. Back to nature. Definitely where I find myself going, as well as it's the best place for my mental health. Amen.
Yeah.
Yep. God's good earth, Everybody earth thinks they're right. And then I think this is the last comment for now. Haha, thanks, girl. Girl. I got to say it like that.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
So you have, how many dogs do you have now? 7?
7. I had 11 and I sold, some were trained and some were not, like totally, I wasn't totally attached to them. So yeah. I sold them. And then, and some I gave a poodle who just did a scent detection workshop and came in second place. Good job, Adrian. To my colleague, but I placed them, and then the rest of the dogs, I'm like, you're stuck.
So for your 7 dogs, and I think about this, so I have, the 18 here right now. What do you train your own dogs?
Oh, good question, dude. I train them to be, I utilize them for the dogs that I train, right? So I have them scramble a lot. I have them help dogs that need a little bit more help with the socialization. But I basically train them
like commands.
Sit down, stay. That's about it, Go potty. Wait. Chill out, go over there and fucking lay down. That. Yeah. But that's, I don't like, it's like the shoemaker with the kids that are shoeless, it's like,
yeah. But so I realized, I didn't think much about it, but I can go and have everything. Like I can go do all my off leash adventures. I can go into town. I can have, I had all these participants into my house. I had, 5 people come in my house. I let all 18 dogs out with them just like that. Just flooded them out with.
Totally.
I did all that. I can do all that. And I only use the only thing I teach. And again, if I had higher drive, more difficult dogs, there'd be more, but I teach their name, because their name is almost everything. It's a recall. Totally. It means you can, when I open a gate, I want them to go out one at a time, a lot of the time. So it's just one, oh, there she is.
There's Yaya.
Yaya. Yeah. But it's their name, no. And then leash walking.
Yep.
I don't teach sit. I don't teach down. I think that's it. Name, no, leash walking. I know there's one other thing, but it's so basic, and I can do everything with my dogs with just those things. And again, if I had a more difficult dog, I'd probably teach a down or a place, just something so I could have a break from the dog if I needed to do something with it for a little bit. But otherwise, yeah. So their name's recall. It means to go through a door or to pay attention to me. No leash. That's it.
Well, okay. So I teach, now that I'm thinking about this, I teach the name is the most important thing with multiple dogs like this, because you're talking to one. Yeah. It's one dog.
It's like their name. Right. No.
Yeah.
No.
The other thing I teach them is house and barn.
Oh, yeah.
So like, I'll give them a command, like we're going to the dog room in the barn, kennel. I teach them, they all know kennel. Load up, I guess, for when they're going to the car. But I also do, I come from a herding background of working dogs. And so I have a series of whistles that I do with my dogs. And so whenever we're done and we're going inside, then I will do, here, I won't whistle. I'll go. Sorry, I'm making myself laugh. I'll go like, And then I tell them barn or house, right?
Oh,
And so
okay.
I'll do a whistle because everybody's out scattered on the property, and then that gets their attention and knows, hey, we're all going like to either the barn or the house. So I'll go barn, and then they all run to the barn, right? And they're all waiting to go into the barn or house, So that's one thing that I'll do when they all are out. Yeah, but my dogs, like, they're like I call them the preacher's kids because they're little shitheads. They'll show you what they're not supposed to do. But I want them out, and there's degrees of trust that I have with my dogs. Like, there's some dogs that, dude, I could be out working, I don't care. You're gonna be you're always gonna be an eye shot of. I know exactly where you're gonna be at all times, and you're checking in with me often, and I like that. But there's certain dogs, I'm gonna skip her keys, that I that I have to frickin' manage a little bit more, man, because they'll catch a whiff of something, or they'll see, and then they're like, dude, I'm checking this shit out, and y'all are so awesome. There's my wife.
Oh, hi.
So yeah, if there's any other commands that I can't think of that we teach our dogs, we're talking about that right now.
I'm laughing. Angelina and I are exactly the same. She's like, the name means everything.
Yeah,
I guess it does.
Yeah, their name is yeah, totally.
There's no point. It means
Name
everything.
drop it.
Whatever you say their name, it's like, stop whatever you're doing or pay attention to me. It's like the end of it.
Yeah, and if I say down, like all the other dogs are laying down too. It's like, no, I'm talking to you, right? Right now. Do you believe? Do you own a leash? I don't believe it.
He's talking about me.
Yeah.
So I will say it's funny. Every now and then I'll realize that a dog is gone like a year of me having it, and I never leash trained it. I'll forget. Like, I'll go to put it on a leash and get in the car, and it's like, what is, it's fine, but it's funny how they escape the leash for a long time because we don't use them.
So I asked Gemini to create an image of you walking micro wolves.
Oh my gosh.
And it wasn't you because I couldn't put in the picture of you, but let me see if I can. Let me see if this will do it.
Oh my God.
No, that's cedar. Sorry,
No, you're fine.
Okay, I can't even
managing this creature.
Whatever, I'll find it here in just a second.
No, you're fine.
So it's not you, but it's
like a AI Kelly.
Yep, AI Kelly. Oh, there it is right here. So here's AI Kelly with walking a bunch of micro wolves.
What am I walking? Clique eyes or little like spitzy things?
I said micro wolves.
Oh, that is so funny, Bill.
So that's I said a lady walking in Santa Fe forest with a pack of micro wolves. That was the prompt. So that's you. Well, that's what AI thinks that you are.
So funny. That's really cute. You made that.
Well, and so what else did we want to? I wanted to discuss with you. So the future, I want to get more into that. So now you're coming back to who you are.
Yeah.
You're dealing with this PTSD.
Well, it's gone now. I'm fine.
Okay. And so how are some ways that you feel comfortable with, like talking about how did you deal with that, and how, like, what was the catalyst? Like, when do you remember when you're like, I'm done, like I can't
business?
Yeah, the business, and like what was the?
I just lost so when you're running a business that is that large, and then I'm also seeing my passion is dogs, like training dogs, having my hands on learning about dogs. My curiosity, that is it. I will never ever know enough about dogs. And when the work I want to do is completely pushed aside or dampened by the fact that I have to manage this huge business with so much drama, just because of the quantity of dogs and employees, it just took my joy away. Like, I was like, what's the point? I don't care about how much money I'm making. Nothing. I just lost. And I was chronically frustrated, was the worst version of myself, was a terrible boss. I mean, I still cringe when I think about my employees that were so incredible, and I was terrible because I was chronically frustrated. And anyway, so when I left there, I spent the last 3 years thinking about, you know, being smaller. So going forward, I guess. So that was the PTSD stuff. It was just me basically riding horses. The last 3 years, I've been riding horses like multiple times a week, and that's what makes me feel good. Are you good there? There you are.
Yeah, Pecan's trying to jump up, so now she's
Okay.
coming up in my arms. But Matt had to go, so love you, Matt. So
Hi,
he has to
Matt.
go. His kid's last day of kindergarten. So you're riding horses and
yeah. So mostly I'm riding. And right now, what I do. So when I built this new business, this is interesting. I set up to have 4 platforms of social media, and I was like, all I'm going to do is so much social media, because I want to have clients all, I want to be able to work with clients all over the country, and I want to share my knowledge. And what happened is this. I built my website and I integrated Honeybook into my website so that the only way to reach me as a new client is to go in and schedule a 15-minute call. And you also have to put in a decent amount of information. So I don't have to have anyone do that for me anymore. It's all done for me. And then then the 15-minute phone call comes in, I talk to the client, and then everything is pretty much automated and I can schedule them. So I've made my life 1,000 times easier with this new system that I set up. But long-term, what I would like to do is I'd like to eventually buy a property where I can put some tiny houses on it in addition to my home. And then I'd like to be able to have trainers come out, whether it's with their dogs or their clients' dogs, or coming out for clinics. But it's going to, no matter what I get, there's lots of options out here, but I can find a place where I have that much space where I can back to public land so we can, work on going hiking and doing all the stuff that I feel is, pertinent to healing the dog and the human. And so that's my goal this time, is to create a space like that. And like you think about, this is just me, I get on these, like, if people could, we get up in the morning and we all come in and we have coffee and breakfast together, and then we go out and we work dogs. And maybe the people are just there for a week or 2 weeks or a month, or they're there for a clinic. But Angelina and I are like, yes. Anyway, that's my future goal. But right now, what happened, and the reason I is that I put myself on Google on Santa Fe. So if you type in Santa Fe dog trainer, I had a bunch of my old clients leave me reviews. So now I have more reviews on there than any local trainers. So when you go to type, so I'm brand new here. I've been here for 2 months, but I come up like first or second when you're looking for a trainer. And that flooded me all of a sudden with clients in the last 2 months. And that's all I did. So now I'm trying to catch up and get my social media and all that figured out. But I'm at the moment I'm slammed. So, and the community needed somebody that was doing a different approach to training. So
the community always needs this. And that's what I see is like this, just like we were talking about with Zach George, there's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of, in my opinion, unethical. I mean, there's no other way to say this, of like making promises that you shouldn't make. And I fix a lot of dogs that have gone through trainers that are locally here. And a lot of times how I fix them is just let them be dogs, and teach the people how to read them a little bit better and how to know them a little bit better. And I've seen dogs that have been flattened out in a bad way. Right. I flatten. I mean, I want to pick a different adjective, but that's what I think about. Like, because in a way, I do flatten my dogs that are, well, I'm talking about what I do for service dog work, because I want a dog that's a little flat. I don't want a flashy dog. I want a dog that is stable. I guess stable, bring stability to that dog, right? To be able to go into public access in places that dogs typically don't go. And there's an expectancy of how they're going to behave. But I see dogs that are flat in a bad way, where they've been lit up too much with the e-collar. They haven't had the proper introduction. They don't have the foundation of commands and the e-collar overlaid. Lots of people crush the dog. That's absolutely right, Nelson. And that's That's unethical, in my opinion. And that's what comes with thinking that you know it all. It's a Dunning-Kruger type of thing. And it's usually at the beginning. I crush dogs at the beginning. I did stuff.
Oh, we all
I
did.
yeah.
I did
And
too.
so it's something that I forgive myself for, but that's one of the hardest things that I've had to do is forgive myself for that. And I think after this life, if I get into heaven, that the first thing I'm going to do, and I believe dogs go to heaven. So, Father Peter, I believe dogs. um, I'm going to apologize to the dogs, and I apologize to them. Just like, look, I was wrong, and so this is understanding that this is the industry, and there's a lot of people out there that crush dogs, but I'm thankful of the knowledge base and that I've stuck with this. But every area needs a compass or somebody that they can go to. And do you train trainers in your area? Do you offer any shadows or any of that type of stuff to help alleviate this? Or
Yeah, but that's like a next stage, because right now I kind of want to see what my clientele was going to be like and what services. This is a brand new market for me. So once I get my market figured out, and then I know like my schedule, all of it's new. Like I don't have an assistant yet. I'm used to having someone do all my scheduling and do all that, like all of this front end work that I'm trying to figure out. So once all this is established, and the next stage would be to offer, mentoring programs or clinics or something. Yeah. So
what do you find now that you've started it? What does it look like to you? What are people coming to you for the most
everybody
part?
wants off leash. Everyone's dogs are aggressive. Every single one I've had. No, I would say 90% of the dogs have been submitted so far for work.
Aggression. Is it aggression or is it reactivity? Is it true?
Most of them have several. I use aggression just so loosely. It doesn't mean anything to me, really. It's just what they're calling it on their side. But most of it is dogs that have been, they can't go anywhere with the dog because it's been in so many fights that it's a liability. So I would say it's above reactivity. And then I'm getting these complex situations where my mind is just blown. I mean, and a lot of people here in Santa Fe are around retirement age. So several people that have submitted this week are around 80 years old, and they want off leash training, and it just stuff like that gets tricky because, if you're going to use remote collars for off leash training, and then you have people who are, if their hands are working well, I mean, there's just all this other little subtle stuff. So, but that's kind of how it's been so far.
Okay. It makes sense. Yeah. Or the timing's off, or they just don't know the equipment. Do you use e-collars from ecollar.com, Dogtras, Gemini?
I just use Dogtras.
Okay.
Not that I don't like any other brand, but I've started on a Dogtra, and I'm so familiar with my muscle memory on a Dogtra. Like I either use a 280C or a 1900S.
Okay.
So, and
yeah,
go ahead.
I said I like it as a good product.
Yeah, and then the only tools I really use, I use that, and I use slip leashes.
Okay.
So I'm just and a muzzle on a great occasion if I need it. I don't use very much food, but again, it's just whatever each dog needs in certain situations. I want to try everything. So
yeah, I use martingale with the chain. I do like the click of the chain, and I'll use any collar, like from Martin System down to ecollar.com to Dogtra, anything, Gemini. In fact, sometimes I don't use any collar, I should say, to caveat this, because if somebody comes to me with a $40 collar from Amazon or something like that,
I won't even use a sport dog, Bill. I will only use e-collar tech or Dogtra. That is it. No other. I won't use another collar. I don't trust them.
Yeah, the sport dogs can be pretty brutal. Like those, yeah, they can be. The only time I'll use that is for my hunting dogs and for my hard dogs. Like, and if they already have one that the dog's been working on, then I'll use it. Absolutely. But yeah, I'm right there with you.
I don't even like Garmin's. They're too slow. Like no.
Okay. So
Yeah.
dog shows it where it's at for you.
Yeah. Any
and
color
it's
test.
any color tech. Yep. And they're always innovating. That's what I like about them is yeah, Angelina's right there with you. She refuses to support dogs.
Angelina and I agree on everything. Yeah. No.
You guys are like sisters. You guys are
Animals.
like twins. Angelina also says any of us can admit that we have overreacted to a dog. Some people put personal emotions, because some people put personal emotions on back burner. Yep. Well, and it's hard to admit that you were wrong. I mean, dude, look how hairy I am now because of this dang dog. That's one of the most powerful things I've said over and over on these live streams is those 3 words that we can say, I was wrong.
Oh.
And
I was wrong last week about multiple things. Because then afterward, I was like, I just had a great learning moment. I was wrong.
Yeah. But we have a lot of egos. We have a lot of egos in this industry. We have a lot of egos just as people in general, that they can't lay down that ego enough to take a good look at themselves, or there's a shame factor that causes people to not delve down that path of knowing that they could be wrong.
Well, and then what you mentioned, the Dunning-Kruger effect, I think is one of the biggest.
Yeah.
I had it. I think back 25, 30 years ago, and I
Yeah.
thought I knew everything, and it's laughable.
Well, Dunning-Kruger too is like, this is where, have you ever seen the graph of the Dunning-Kruger?
Yeah.
Here, there's so many of them here. Let me share this one here because it's important for people. Remove, stop sharing. Okay. I'm still getting this. I've done this for so long, but Dunning-Kruger effect. Look at all these graphs. They're all about the same, where it's parabolic at first and then boom, valley of despair. And this is where a lot of dog trainers, they get up here, peak of Mount Stupid, but they don't realize that. And then valley of despair, slope of enlightenment, plateau of sustainability. I think that I am somewhere along the slope of enlightenment. I don't think I'll ever reach the plateau.
I think we have moments where I felt like I've had moments where I felt for about a day that I had reached some enlightenment and I knew I was going to lose it. And then of course it went away. So
that's the beautiful thing about working with dogs too, is like, look, there's no finish line here. Yeah. We're always learning. I'm sure that even Nelson is learning all the time, even though he's we go to people as teachers, but it's also refreshing to find a teacher that is in some aspect a student as well.
Because for me, of course, I'm always wanting to learn from someone new, or even if it's not in the dog field. A lot of stuff I learn from my horse trainers that I work with. But immediately, if my immediate gauge to decide that I want to know more, I am just at the beginning. Yeah, that's right. Aren't we all just the beginning? When I meet someone new, when they say something like, I'm just at the beginning, or I'm a student of the animal, whatever, anything that indicates that they're, what Nelson just said, that's who I'm attracted to learn from. If I feel there's any ego, or they know everything, or they talk about the horse or the dog, it's an absolute, they know exactly what the horse or dog is doing, I just lose interest. It's just, I can't even control it. I just lose interest in wanting to learn from that person. So always just the beginning. Yeah.
Well, that's why, that's the observation method too, of like just observing without judgment and just seeing from a perspective with no preconceived notions of what's going on, and just watching it unfold as it will.
Yeah.
And I like it when I'm like, oh, that's interesting, which I say all the time, dude. I'm like, oh, wow. Oh, wow, that's interesting.
So last week, I'll give you a really clear moment I had where I was sure I was going to be in my head. I was sure. Imagine we've got these feral dogs that have, only maybe once been in a crate, if at all, that, they've only been on a leash a couple of times. And maybe this is probably their first time or second time ever in their life going in a car. And I'm just talking because maybe they went to animal control in a vehicle, whatever. So one of the things that we didn't plan for was the time it was going to take to get these dogs loaded into SUVs and get them into crates and then be moving them around all day. And so when we were first starting it, because you can't manhandle these, like, you can't squish these, you can't manhandle these dogs, you can't do any of that. You have to be very creative. So we were trying to figure this out, and it was like we had to get the dogs to jump on an elevated platform and then jump into a crate. These feral dogs, like, we have to convince them that this is a good idea. It's like it's like going to get a Mustang out of the wild and convincing it to get into a trailer. And in my mind, I'm just like, there is no way we're going to get this done within 4 days. Like, this is the first date, but we're back at the house. And we got the dogs in, but we kind of just had to get them in and then go. But this time we wanted to make it a good experience and really have the dogs want, to get into the crates in the car. So we're all brainstorming, and we find a platform, and the first platform we find was metal. So if they touched it, it made this loud noise and that would spook them. So then we had to figure out how to just desensitize them to the noise on there. And then we finally found a platform that was solid wood. So then this is where my mind was like, there's no way that these dogs are going to take food. Cause a couple, I think maybe Julie and someone else were like, well, let's give these dogs food, fresh. These dogs are fresh within 24 hours from the shelter. Let's give them food and have them get in the crate with food. And I'm like, there's no way these dogs are going to jump on these platforms and take food from us and jump into the crate. And I was wrong. Those dogs, all of them took food. All of them chose to jump on the platform, and then they jumped in the crates. And it was a couple of days of us doing that. But for the most part, we'd use a little bit of leash pressure. But with the food, it was quite graceful, actually, considering, it blew my mind. And it was such a great learning experience to me, because in my head, I had already decided, I was like, these dogs are not going to take food. They're so stressed out. And then, anyway, so that was one of the big things that I learned myself, and it was humbling, and I'm love to be humbled. So
yeah. Or if something that my client suggests, like, what about this? And I'm like, okay, try it out if it works.
Yeah.
Or if they fix a problem, or how do you deal with this? And I'm always learning too. It's just like, once you think you've got it all figured out, you're dead in the water, dude. Like, there's something that's going to happen that's going to poke the holes in your program. Or there's a dog that's going to bite you in the ass, and that's the beauty of this industry, is that we do have a pretty good feedback mechanism in these dogs that tells us if we're, on the right path. And not only that, but how did the feral dogs do with the influence of the other dogs?
Be more specific with that question.
Like, when one dog see the dog go onto the platform, be like, oh, that's safe, or did they even care?
I can't speak for the dog. Julie might have a different opinion than I do. I tend to not speak for the dog, and I didn't. And we were all so much in our own world trying to help one of the handlers get that dog in the car that I was just focused on the dog that I was trying to load up. So I don't know how many of the dogs were watching the other dogs go in. And it's very likely that could be possible, but I can't speak for the dog. I don't know if that influenced them or not, to see it.
But that's one thing that I'm looking to, is like, and when I work dogs with other dogs, right. And I learned this from one of Nelson's seminars, right, where he'll put chairs right up front, and he'll pick out 2 people to sit right up front. And he'll be like, do you guys how do you feel when you're isolated like this?
No.
Right. And it just kind of feels like you're being observed. You just feel off. Right. And so integration with these dogs, put them into the pack. And that's one of the things that I was so happy to do with this Husky Akita mix that I have, is like, okay, he's packed now. Like, we're on the next phase of this acceptance journey. It's also the approach too, when I'm thinking of Nelson and the relationship-based modification seminar that he had, is like having people squat down and approaching them to put on a leash, right? I do that with every single one of my clients now. I have them squat down, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put on a leash. How does this feel?
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I want them to see the world through the dog's perspective. Even though I can't speak for the dog, I can definitely put myself in a perspective where I can maybe understand what's going on in the world a little bit better from their point of view. Does that make
Mm-hmm.
sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Here we
Julie commented,
you can influence them sometimes, but in this case they were not a pack yet. Yep. They have to have camaraderie, they have to have rapport. And just like if we were to be put into like if we're in an airport, dude, I could care less about what everybody's doing, right? It's like we all have our own agendas. We all have, our own individual subjective experience of what's going on at that time, and we all have our motivations of like where we need to go, what we're doing. And but when we're in a position for longer periods of time, or if we're like in a workplace or something like that where we become part of a team, then you start to get to know people much better and start to appreciate them, and start to follow each other's leads and learn from each other as well.
Yeah. And then Chris was there. Yeah, that's my aunt. The more you know that you know nothing. That is the truest thing.
Yeah.
Chris, we tried to load the dogs individually to reduce the distraction. Yeah, that was very true. It was one at a time, and then
or even when the dogs like come into a space where the first dog might have been a little freaked out, and then he sees another dog coming in, then they start to realize, oh, okay, cool, this is something that's happening to all of us, right? It's like something, and that's why I train dogs around other dogs that are in training. I'll have a dog back tied and I'll drill one dog, watch the other dog watch, and then I'll drill another dog, watch them, so they realize that they're not the only one that's being worked with. Tina asks, in a feral dog mindset, why do you feel they choose the food in that moment of stress? And go ahead and pipe in, Julie, if you have an opinion.
I want to hear Julie's opinion on this, because I didn't think they would choose food. And I'm thinking on it for a second. I want to give a thoughtful response. And Nelson might have an opinion to this too.
And what food would you offer them?
They were eating, I think it was freeze-dried liver.
Oh, that's.
It was high value food. It wasn't kibble or anything, but I feel like these dogs are always since the time they come into the shelter, I feel like in a sense they're always in a stressful space. Like right now, if we take a pet dog and put it into a stressful spot, I'm just trying to think this through. I have to think it through because it's perplexed me since we had that, and I've come back to want to think it through. And I want to see if Julie or Nelson have an opinion about this.
Yeah, and I have pet dogs that come to me for board and train that I get worried about because they refuse food for fucking days and water too, man. Like it's that's one of the things that stresses the hell out of me about board and trains and why I rarely take them.
So my thinking is that if the dog is in a sense become what's the right word for it? Kind of like they've been in a stressed out state for a long time because they're out of their natural environment, which is wild, then they're not having that acute response, complicated answer, feral but in shelter situations. So association of food with humans. That's a good point. So I don't know if they don't have, because when the dog is stressed, they don't take food. But if the dog's been stressed for a prolonged period of time, I don't know if that makes a difference. So Julie, many reasons. One, they may have been fed from people before. Stress is see, that's what so what Julie said is that they're not actually as stressed as people think they are, but they know they need food for their survival. That's a good point.
But make no mistake that they will not form trust, right? You become an opportunistic source of substance, like you have become an opportunity for them to become satiated in some manner. And because it's high value too, that's their value, the food over the relationship with you. They will eat the food and do a behavior, but do not care about the human without other relationship building. Absolutely.
So the last part of this is what I think, what Julie was saying right here, where she said they will eat food and do a behavior, but not care about the human without without other relationship building. That actually is very, 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 very true. That doesn't create, I don't feel like that creates relevance. Let's see, just like what was upon in their survival. Yeah.
Well, and Nelson says feral dogs are not scared,
They're
but they're
wary
wary of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely, man. You are the threat in their environment. You are the uncertainty. The food
But
is
you're a pawn in their survival. That was a good line, Julie.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a pawn in their survival. Your strategic move that they've made to get a form of pleasure. I mean, it's something that they need, and they're opportunistic. And food is a huge part of their survival. Man, that's something that that definitely looking for always. I'm thinking a feral dog, once they find a good source of food, that is ingrained in their brain pretty quickly of like, okay, cool, this is like, if they find roadkill or something like that, then they're like, okay, this black territory, which is a street, might be a place of opportunity that I can seek out, or at least check every once in a while, because I have been rewarded when I've scavenged here before. Valid. Well said, Julie.
Also, good back to Tina. Thanks for asking that question. That was a really good question and something that I wanted to revisit when I was putting all my thoughts together. So I'm glad you asked that. That was.
Yeah. And these are questions that we ponder. It's like, why did that happen, dude? Why? What the heck is going on here? Right.
But isn't this like, these are conversations you don't really have about pet dogs. This is why the feral dog, variable and all this it's so interesting for your learning. For me at least.
They're also stable temperaments.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. One of my favorite things to do when I go to another country is to watch the dog population.
Mm-hmm.
And I notice things like Julie was saying. I notice the most stable dogs in the street dogs. Mm-hmm. Like, people think that they're crazy, they're running around scared or whatever. Dude, I see them the most confident dogs.
What countries have you been where you've seen the street dogs?
Mexico, Costa Rica, mostly Central America and South America, right? And they're in a temperate climate, just like where you are down there, where it's warm year round. And what I see is sources of water. And a lot of times I'm at beach places, so there's salt water and then there's fresh water. And I've seen that there's these couple of freshwater places that I see a lot of dogs around. They learn that where there's restaurants, especially where outdoor seating is, I see dogs kind of shadowing those places, because either they get, fed from the people at the table, or they drop scraps. They're smart, man. They don't want to be touched. Oh, some of them do. Some of them are absolutely like, yeah, love me up. Yeah, here I am. But they just continue on. They just exist and float, and I wish I could watch them throughout the day and night and just watch like a full week of what they do, and how many times they visit a place, how many times, or where they go to sleep. Mm-hmm. Other dogs they interact with. Right, that's interesting to see too. One dog's down here, the other dog's coming by. They sniff each other's butt, and then they're like, move on. Or sometimes they'll walk together, right? Or
they'll posture.
Or they'll posture and be like, what you got? What's your name? What's your name?
Yeah, I'm reading these comments real quick. Angelina said, I started with feral dogs, and a chow was a good starting point for foundation on body language for sure. Yep. Chris said we also did a combination of food and showing them what we wanted. Yeah, so that was the little bit of encouraging them towards going in a crate or going over something or whatever that we were doing in that exercise. Gosh, you're right. I'm covered in hair now too. Holy Moses.
Well, let me see if I can share. I wonder if this will share here, but let me stop sharing this, because this is like I was in Costa Rica. and I watched these dogs. Yeah, this will be it here. Okay, let me zoom in just a little bit here. And these were just dogs that were on a beach playing with and these were street dogs. And they were out here and look at their tails up.
Mm-hmm.
And even though a busy beach with a bunch of people, and then they go and find this coconut husk. And this is what they were playing with. It was like, and just to be able to watch them and watch how happy and fulfilled they were. Wait, this dog has a collar, so maybe that dog isn't a beach or a street dog. But even the dogs with the collars, like it's a totally different form of dog ownership. Like they're allowed to go wherever they go, and be whoever they're going to be. They're allowed to just be dogs.
Yeah, that's how it is here. Actually, there's street dogs everywhere. Nelson just departed.
Bye, Nelson. Love you, buddy. Everybody, check out Nelson's website here, the Canine Human Relationship Center. Here, I'll share him really quick just so we can. And then we gotta wrap this up too, because I have to go and this is Nelson's place down in Texas, creating a healthy atmosphere for lifelong partnerships. And he's doing a bunch of courses, but he also does some seminars, and he's one of my mentors, and somebody that I highly, highly recommend. I can't recommend him enough. So check him out, you guys.
I'm actually going to meet Julie. She said she's going to get in the car.
Great info. Okay, yep, Julie. And Julie, I look forward. I'll be reaching out to you. I was messaging her earlier.
Good.
You guys stay tuned for a live stream with Julie as well, and I'll let you know when that is, Kelly. Kelly, what is the best way for people to get a hold of you? Your website?
My website.
Okay. KellyEngel.com. Let me make sure to put that in the comments as well. Is there anything that we have not touched on that you would like to discuss before we go?
No, we were all over the board. It was great. Thank you for having me.
One question that I have for you, and this will be the last question before we sign off. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to either your 20-year-old self or new dog trainers that are getting into the industry?
Oh, I don't even know. If you can, I'm going to go back to what I said before. If you can acquire a small pack of dogs with the intention of observing them and learning from them, and then I have a couple of now that I've synced that. So yes, and I'm when I say pack, I mean minimum 3. Okay, so
what's the maximum?
No, as many as you mentally can before you lose your mind. Probably realistically 5 to 7 if you're in your 20s. But but the other thing is go to a lot of different clinics and seminars. Okay, this is actually really important. Go to a ton of different clinics and seminars, kind of with people that you would feel aligned with, or maybe just a little bit out of your alignment, but do that and then go back and see if it's true for you. Mm-hmm. So I would just absorb something out here and then I regurgitate it to my clients without challenging it because I thought it was so profound. But over time, I realized that it actually wasn't true for me. And because I trusted that person, I just took that, and again, this is all a perception thing. I mean, they were doing exactly what they thought and they believe is to be true, or it's true for their household, or true for their dogs. But anything that I tell you or anyone tells you or you learn in there, go home to your pack and try it out and see if it makes things better or neutral. Because you can compare. Before I didn't do this and it was like this, and now I do this and it's better or it's neutral. So
or it's worse.
Or it's worse. Yeah. And then it's not only is it just it's all the different dogs in your pack. So what works for your husky and what works for your chihuahua are very, it's so nuanced. So get a pack of dogs.
Get a pack of dogs, and realize that when you do go to these seminars or when you do learn from others, there's a 3-part process to this. There's the preparation of going, and the one thing that is the most important is the processing and applying afterwards. Right? So processing and then applying, and see if it works, see if it holds weight, if it's applicable.
I'm not even going to help you.
Applicable. There we go. Applicable. Is that does that sound right?
That was phenomenal.
Okay, thank you.
Phenomenal.
To your situation, your pack of dogs, and if it's not, why not? Right?
Yeah.
But take the time. Like there's no finish line here, but there's also no hurry here. We have to. I mean, I know that there's cases that we deal with some, some cause of like the dogs needing to fix this behavior pretty quickly, but there's time that you need to take to really process and to understand why this works, why it doesn't work, or maybe just a part of this would work, or this case might work for this case but not for this case, and why is that, right? So thank you,
my
Kelly.
laptop might die, so I better slowly part out. It just went to red. My laptop did. So
so before we go, let's say goodbye to our sister dogs. Hold on, let me grab this one.
Okay. And by the way, Angelina, I saw you. It says she said yes.
Bye.
Use
Say goodbye to your
first before
sister.
teaching them. Amen. Yes.
She could care less. We need to get them together again.
She gives no. What is this? She's so funny. They both do. Look at this.
What are you doing?
You miss your sister? No.
You miss your sister? That's your sister right there. Don't go to sleep.
I want to just real quick. Angelina's last comment: use methods first before teaching them. That's a great comment.
Yep. Well, we'll sign off with that. Amen.
Pack.
And
okay.
Angelina, we're going to be in touch too. I can't wait to have you on as well. We'll say goodbye to everybody, and then I'll say goodbye to you before your laptop dies. Okay. Thank you all for watching, and join my Patreon if you want a further understanding of how I do things. And there's also exclusive interviews on there as well. So bye, everybody.